I always thought love was supposed to hurt a little. Not like this, though. Not the kind of hurt where your fiancé hands you a wedding invitation. Not to your wedding, mind you. To his engagement party with your sister. Your stepsister, Sabrina. The one who cried about never being good enough. The one I defended my whole damn life. The one who asked me to keep her secrets, cover her debts, and told me she could never survive without me. Well, she's doing just fine now, draped on Damien Blackwell's arm like she was born there. And I'm standing in the middle of my apartment, the one I gave up my career to decorate for him, reading gold foil calligraphy that says, "We're finally getting our happily ever after. Hope you can come celebrate with us. S&D." My vision went white. For a second, I thought I'd passed out. But no, I was very much awake, alive. Unfortunately, I didn't scream, didn't cry. I laughed. Then I sat on the kitchen floor with that damn invitation in my lap and thought about the time I gave Damien my kidney so his little brother could live. How I quit my dream job because Sabrina begged me to come home and help the family. How I gave Damien my best years, thinking he'd love me back eventually. He never did. Turns out, I was just a placeholder. A warm body while he waited for Sabrina to say yes. It would be poetic, right? To say I walked away that night, head held high, a woman reborn. But I didn't. I went to the party. Because if they were going to bury me like some forgotten chapter in their love story, I was going to haunt every damn page of it first. I didn't dress to kill. I dressed to bury the past. Red silk, fitted floor length, slid up to my thigh. Not flashy, not desperate. Just enough to whisper, "I'm not the same woman who let you walk all over me." The engagement party was held in the ballroom of the Blackwell Hotel, naturally. Damien's family owns the building, the chain, the empire. He was born into marble floors and chandelier ceilings. I was born into glass, and spent most of my life being careful not to shatter under their heels. The moment I stepped inside, everything stopped. I saw heads turn. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Glasses clinked in trembling hands. And then I saw them. Sabrina was radiant, of course. The kind of pretty that photographs well. Hair in soft blonde waves, makeup delicate enough to appear natural, even though I recognized the brand of highlighter on her cheekbone. She was wearing white. At an engagement party. Bold move, considering she was marrying the man I was supposed to. Damien stood beside her. Tall, broad-shouldered, still devastatingly handsome in the way only power and money can make a man look. Our eyes met, and he flinched. That was the first win of the night. "Oh my God," Sabrina breathed, voice loud enough to reach the nearby guests. "Evelyn, you actually came?" "I got the invitation," I said with a smile. Would have been rude not to. "Of course," she laughed awkwardly, taking Damien's arm. "I mean, we didn't think you'd want to, but we're so glad you're here." Her voice was sugary sweet. I could practically hear her praying that I'd just drink a little champagne, smile politely, and leave. I had other plans. I handed a manila envelope to Damien. He frowned. "What's this?" "Open it." He did. He read, and I watched his eyes darken. His jaw clenched. His perfectly manicured fingers trembled just slightly. Sabrina peeked over his arm and turned pale. Her lips parted. "That's fake," she said quickly. "It's doctored. She's lying." "It's a paper trail," I cut in. "Bank transfers, offshore accounts, shell corporations. You embezzled $500,000 from the Blackwell Humanitarian Fund, Sabrina. And you framed Lucas, Damien's assistant, for it." People around us were staring now. Phones were out. Someone whispered, "Is this real?" And someone else whispered, "She was the ex, right?" Sabrina's voice rose an octave. "She's just bitter, Damien. She always hated me ever since..." Smack. It wasn't planned. I didn't think. My hand just moved. The sound cracked through the ballroom like lightning. Her head jerked to the side. Damien grabbed her instinctively, but she pushed him away, one hand over her cheek. "You slapped me," she gasped. "You crazy." "No," I said, calm. "What's crazy is thinking you could lie your way to a wedding dress, and no one would notice the blood on your hands." Sabrina lunged like she wanted to scratch my eyes out, but Damien held her back this time. And then he looked at me, really looked at me. "Evelyn," he said, and I heard it, the edge of regret in his voice. "We should talk, privately." I tilted my head. "Privately? Why?" "You never minded humiliating me in public." The silence stretched. His throat worked like he wanted to say more, but the words wouldn't come. I didn't wait for them. I turned on my heel and walked out of that ballroom with my head high, the weight on my chest a little lighter, my heart a little freer. Because I wasn't broken. Not anymore. I was just getting started. There's something oddly intimate about packing up your life alone. No music. No friends. No dramatic goodbye party. Just the sound of clothes sliding off hangers, shoes thudding into boxes, and the quiet hum of your own pulse reminding you you're still here. I was still here, even after everything. I stood in the penthouse I once shared with Damien. Technically, it was his name on the deed, but my fingerprints were on every surface. The sage green paint I fought for, the vintage lamp I found at a flea market in Prague, the little espresso machine I bought because he said he liked European coffee. I left it all behind. Every drawer I emptied felt like a memory exercised. Every item tossed into a bag was another nail in the coffin of who I used to be. I left the engagement ring in the freezer. Petty? Maybe. But it felt right somehow. Cold and buried next to the frozen peas. Let them defrost it if they want it back. I didn't cry until I was in the hotel room. Not the 5-star kind I used to stay in with Damien. No. This was a mid-tier boutique place with peeling wallpaper and a view of the dumpster. But the bed was clean, the lights were dim, and no one knew me here. So I curled up, still wearing that red dress, makeup smeared, and I sobbed. Ugly, heaving sobs. For the girl who loved too hard. For the woman who gave up pieces of herself like free samples. For the fool who thought loyalty would earn her love. I don't know how long I cried. Long enough for the sky outside to shift from black to gray. When I finally peeled myself off the bed, my phone was buzzing. New message. Julian Reyes. Heard about the scene at the party. You okay? Just that. No, I told you so. No, I warned you. No demands. Just a question. I stared at the screen for a long time, thumb hovering. I hadn't seen Julian in years. Not since that charity gala where he'd pulled me aside and said, "You know he's using you, right?" I'd brushed him off. Told him he didn't understand. Told him I loved Damien. He just looked at me then like I was standing on a train track, blindfolded, refusing to move. I had moved now. Finally. I typed back, "Not okay, but I'm alive." He responded almost immediately. "Let me know when you want to talk, or scream, or set something on fire." I laughed, for the first time in days. It hurt a little, but it felt good too. I stood up, walked to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. Smudged mascara, hollow eyes. But under all that, someone new. Someone I hadn't met yet. Someone strong. I wasn't Evelyn Carter, the fiancée, the dutiful daughter, the second choice. I was just Evelyn now, and that was enough. Julian Reyes didn't knock like a stranger. He knocked like someone who'd already been here in spirit, like someone who knew the hollow behind the smile I used to wear. The knock was soft, measured. 3 beats, a pause, then 2. I opened the door. He looked tired. Not the kind of tired you get from lack of sleep, the kind that sinks into your bones from carrying too much for too long. Dark jeans, rolled sleeves, no tie. There was always something undone about Julian, like he was too busy thinking about everything else to finish buttoning his cuffs. His hair was a little messy, like he'd run a hand through it on the drive over, but his eyes, still sharp, still gray, still filled with that storm cloud awareness that made you feel like he'd already figured out the part of you were trying to hide. "Hi," I said. "Hey." He looked me up and down. Not in that way. Not like a man appraising a woman, but like he was checking for bruises he couldn't see. "You didn't answer your phone this morning." I threw it into the bathtub. A twitch of a smile. "Fair." I stepped back and let him in. He didn't hesitate. He never did. Julian walked into the room like he'd been here before, like he'd once memorized the shape of my presence and was just waiting for it to return. He set a paper bag on the little desk. "I brought food." I blinked. "Didn't peg you as a comfort food guy." "I'm not. I just knew if I showed up empty-handed, you'd pretend you weren't hungry while your stomach did the talking." It growled right on cue. "Traitor." He slid out a container. "Penne alla vodka, garlic bread, something with chocolate." I didn't look. I just told them to give me what fixes heartbreak. "I'm not heartbroken," I muttered. "You're not healed either." That shut me up. We ate in silence for a few minutes. The garlic bread was too garlicky. The chocolate thing turned out to be some kind of mousse that melted before I could finish it. I didn't care. Julian was watching me the whole time. Not in a creepy way, just observant. "You knew," I finally said. "Didn't you?" He didn't pretend not to understand. "I suspected," he said. Damien was always the type to want what looked good on paper. You made him look stable, loyal, grounded. Sabrina made him feel powerful, indispensable. I scoffed. "Thanks for the character analysis, Dr. Reyes. I'm not here to psychoanalyze him." His eyes held mine. "I'm here because when you cry, you do it in silence. And I've seen you silent for too long." I swallowed hard. "You didn't even like me," I said. "Wrong," he said softly. "I liked you too much. That's why I stayed away." Silence. A different kind this time. Heavy. Electric. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw it. The way his jaw clenched when he looked at my suitcase. The subtle shake of his head like he wanted to do something reckless, and didn't trust himself not to. The heat that flickered when I met his eyes and didn't look away. "Say something stupid and I'll throw you out," I warned. He leaned in, just a little. Just enough to tilt the gravity between us. "I'm not going to say something stupid, Evelyn," he said. "I'm going to say something true." I didn't breathe. He didn't blink. "You were never the second choice," Julian said. He was just too stupid to see the first. I wasn't planning to watch her fall. That's the truth. I didn't wake up in that creaky hotel bed and think, let me spend my afternoon watching my stepsister publicly combust. But when the call came from Lucas, the former assistant Damien fired after Sabrina framed him, I didn't hesitate. "I know where she's hiding the rest," he said. "The accounts, the ledgers, everything she didn't give Damien access to." He sounded calmer than I expected, but I heard it, the bitterness, the quiet fury of someone who'd been made into a scapegoat. "She used me," he said. "Used my name, forged my signature. If I didn't have a cousin in digital forensics, I'd be jobless and in prison right now." "I believe you," I said. He was quiet for a beat. That's the first time anyone said that out loud. We met at a small cafe downtown, neutral ground. Lucas handed me a flash drive and a sealed envelope. "This is insurance," he said, "for both of us." He didn't want money. He didn't want revenge. He wanted his name cleared. So did I. The story broke a week later. Blackwell heiress accused of embezzlement, fraud, and frame-up scandal. The tabloids had a field day. They used her old modeling headshots, plastered them beside headlines like "Golden Girl Gone Rotten and from Debutante to Defendant." Sabrina's PR team tried to bury it. They issued statements. These are baseless accusations fueled by jealous parties. They dropped phrases like digital manipulation and ongoing investigation, like glitter bombs. But the internet had receipts. Screenshots, account transfers, emails signed in Lucas's name that matched Sabrina's writing style. And then the video surfaced, a security recording from the office, Lucas confronting her. Her voice sharp, unmistakable. "You think they're going to believe you over me? You're nothing, Lucas. I'm a Blackwell fiancé." It went viral in under 5 hours. I watched it from my hotel bed with a bowl of cereal balanced on my chest. By the second replay, I smiled. Not a petty smile. Not a cruel one. Just a small, tired curve of the lips that whispered, "Finally." 2 days later, Damien called. I didn't answer. Then he texted, "Evelyn, please. I need to talk to you. It's not what you think." I threw the phone across the bed and went back to reading. Then Julian showed up with coffee. "I heard she tried to get a gag order on the press," he said, setting down the drinks. "She forgets the court of public opinion has no judge," I replied, sipping foam. "You doing okay?" I considered that. I hadn't cried since the night I left. I hadn't screamed either. But I'd breathed. I'd eaten full meals. I'd read books for fun again. I'd even laughed, with someone, not at a screen. "I think I'm healing," I said slowly. He didn't say good. He just nodded, like that was enough. Then he handed me a brown envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "Ownership documents," he said, "for the loft downtown. It's got your name on the deed." I froze. "Julian, I can't. You're not living in this motel forever," he said. "Consider it a graduation present for surviving the world's worst engagement." I stared at the envelope. My name in elegant lettering, a space of my own, a fresh start. "This doesn't mean I owe you anything," I said, voice low. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, face unreadable. "Evelyn, you don't owe anyone anything anymore." And in the distance, Sabrina's house of cards kept crumbling, and I watched, calm, composed, from a safe distance. Not as the victim, but as the woman who finally stopped bleeding for other people's sins. It was raining. Of course it was raining. Like the universe had a flair for theatrics and wanted to make sure Damien S.'s fall from grace was properly cinematic. I had just finished unpacking a box in the loft. My loft. Exposed brick, creaky floors, too much sunlight in the morning. It didn't smell like someone else's life. It smelled like paint and coffee and lavender detergent. Like beginnings. There was a knock at the door. I ignored it. Then the knock came again. Louder, more insistent. I opened the door halfway, ready to tell whatever delivery person it was that I didn't order anything. But it wasn't a stranger. It was Damien. Soaked to the bone. Hair dripping. Rain slicked down the collar of his designer coat. His eyes, those familiar storm blue eyes, looked different now. Like someone had drained the arrogance from them and replaced it with something raw. Something broken. He didn't speak right away. Just looked at me. I didn't say a word. "I didn't know where else to go," he said finally. My voice was cool. "Try hell." He flinched, just a small twitch at the corner of his mouth. "I deserve that." "No," I said, folding my arms. "You deserve worse. But this is all I have time for." He shifted, like he wanted to come inside. I didn't move. "Please, Evelyn. Just 5 minutes." I looked at him. This man I once molded my life around. The man I cooked for, dressed up for, twisted myself into knots trying to please. The man who handed my heart to Sabrina like it was a business card. I stepped back. just enough to let him into the doorway, not enough to offer comfort. He didn't sit. He didn't touch anything. Smart. I was wrong, he said. I raised a brow. You'll need to be more specific. I didn't see it. What she was doing. What she is. I thought... You thought she was shiny and soft and simple, I cut in. And you were so goddamn afraid of feeling less that you needed someone to orbit you instead of challenge you. His jaw clenched. I stepped forward, just one slow step. But me? I made you uncomfortable, because I didn't shrink for you. I didn't worship you. I loved you with my whole self, and you threw me away for someone easier. I didn't throw you away, he said, voice cracking. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought you'd be better without me. I laughed, not kindly. Don't dress it up in noble sacrifice. You didn't want to feel guilty, Damien. You wanted me to make it easy for you. No, he didn't deny it. I miss you, he said quietly. Not her. You. Every day since you left. I see your shadow in every room. I hear your voice when I can't sleep. I made the wrong choice, Evelyn. I walked past him to the window where the city blurred in rain and reflection. You made the true choice, I said, turning back to face him. You chose who you really were. You just didn't expect the mask to fall off after. He moved a step closer. I held up a hand. He stopped. Let me make it right, he said. I'll fix it. I'll do whatever it takes. I just want a chance to earn you back. I smiled, cold, quiet. No. The word dropped like a stone between us. His face twisted. Why? Because you only saw my worth after someone else tried to bury it. Because I had to burn for you to see the fire. Because the version of me who wanted you is dead, Damien. And I'm not digging her up just so you can sleep at night. He looked like he'd been punched. I let him stand there a moment longer, soaked, shivering, shattered. Then I opened the door. This is me choosing myself, I said softly. You can leave now. He did. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I didn't cry. I just closed the door and let the silence wrap around me like peace. The rain had stopped by the time Julian knocked on my door. No words, just a soft, familiar rhythm. 3 beats. A pause. 2 more. I opened it. You heard, I said. He nodded. Lucas called. Of course he did. Word traveled fast when the man who nearly married you showed up drenched and desperate on your doorstep, only to leave looking like someone kicked his soul in the ribs. Julian held up a brown paper bag. Ty? I smiled. Is there ever a bad time for curry? We sat on the floor, legs crossed, cartons between us. No music, no television, just the soft clink of forks and the occasional sigh. Julian didn't push. He never did. He just waited, until I was ready. I didn't think it would feel like this, I said quietly, twirling noodles. Letting go. He glanced at me. And how does it feel? Like silence, but not the bad kind. Like space. Inside me. Like there's room for air again. He nodded, didn't smile. Just understood. I think, I continued, eyes on my food, I spent so long trying to make myself small, easy, lovable in the way other people needed. But now I want to be full. Julian set his carton down. Good, he said. Be full, take up space, make noise, break things if you want. I looked at him. His mouth curved, soft and sincere. And if I do? I asked. If I take up space? I'll move over, he said simply. Or stand beside you. It was that moment, more than any apology or grand gesture, that made something inside me shift. Not fall, not break. Open. We went for a walk after. Just through the quiet city streets, damp from rain, the scent of petrichor hanging in the air. Julian didn't take my hand. didn't pull me close. He matched my pace. That was all. And when we reached the bridge overlooking the river, he leaned against the railing and said, "You don't have to choose now, or tomorrow, or ever. You can just heal. I'll still be here." That kind of patience, that kind of quiet, unflinching loyalty, it wrecked me more than Damien's betrayal ever had, because Damien had taken me for granted. But Julian saw me, all of me, and waited anyway. "I don't know who I'll be yet," I admitted, staring at the water. "But I want to find out." Julian didn't say, "I'll help you." He said, "Then let's find out." We didn't kiss that night. There was no sweeping score, no breathless moment under the moon. Just two people, once broken, now learning, walking side by side. And somehow that was everything. The invitations arrived in a box, neatly returned, still sealed, some with faded stamps or scribbled forwarding addresses. A quiet reminder of the life that almost was. My name, his name, twined in gold calligraphy across ivory cardstock. Damien Blackwell and Evelyn Rhodes request the honor of your presence. It hit like a ghost. Not grief, not rage. Just that dull, distant ache you get when you remember someone you used to love, someone who no longer exists in the form they once did. I stared at the stack, at what could have been, at what never should have. Julian was out that afternoon. I told him I needed space. Not because I wanted to be alone, just because I needed to be with myself. So I poured a glass of wine, put on music I once played while writing vows I never read, sat on the floor surrounded by memories that no longer hurt me the way they used to, and I opened one. Just one. The envelope was thick, the paper textured. I remembered how excited I'd been choosing the font, picking the soft gray ribbon. I had wanted elegance. I had wanted beauty. I had wanted us to feel real. But now I saw it for what it was. A performance. A costume. A woman dressing up her own self-erasure and calling it romance. I didn't cry. Instead, I picked up a pen. The same kind I used when I wrote thank you notes and place cards. And on the back of that one invitation, I wrote this. This was never your story. You thought it was. You let them tell it like it was. But you were never the bride. They just gave you the dress and said, make it work. You bent, you broke, you bled quiet, pretty tears in fitting rooms and rehearsal dinners. And then you stopped. You walked out with nothing but your name and the bones of a woman you hadn't met yet. She's here now, and she's not waiting anymore. I folded it, slipped it back into the envelope, and set the entire stack in a fireproof dish. I didn't light them. I didn't need to. I wasn't burning the past. I wasn't erasing it. I was closing it. Like a chapter I'd read too many times already. Later, when Julian returned, he found me curled on the couch, blanket over my legs, book in hand. Did it hurt? He asked quietly, nodding toward the box. I thought about it. Then I said, only a little. He sat beside me, close, steady. And we didn't talk about weddings. We talked about road trips and recipes, and how I still couldn't fold a fitted sheet. We talked about the future. Not ours, not yet, but mine. Mine alone, and the world I could build from here. Because I didn't need a wedding to prove I was worthy. I just needed to choose myself. And I had.